will now have his opening remarks.
Böll-Stiftung. Ich glaube, sind einige noch, die gerade so auf dem Weg hier
Thank you. There are some people who will still join us, who look forward to the program. I'm very happy that all came into this room. Stephen Scholz, my co-director, we are now in charge of our responsibilities since 6 months. The last months we were able to make things we could not do in the former time. So this is also the case of Soup and Talk and the demonstration which just took place. So I have to admit I have participated during all the demonstrations, and it was really a pity not to be able to do this kind of demonstration these last 2 years. So it's now really a pleasure to see so many people, and it's good to see that this subject raises so much awareness. So you can't just drop this subject under the table. We know what the general situation is about, a war in Europe, the climate crisis, and all these debates we have to have in our society on the subjects on social cohesion. So all this discussion about the perspectives, this alternative Green Week, this movement we have supported during this last years. Well, it's good that this idea is now again in the middle of the public, and the fact that so many people participated during the demonstration, well, all this is highly inspiring for all of us. We as a foundation, we also want to address these subjects, and this is why we organize Soup and Talk, and it is also the opportunity to have this alternative Green Week during the official Green Week, and have the land card with all these explanations, with all these perspectives. And I'm somebody who during the last years I had to intervene during parliamentarian debates, and in the Ministry of Agriculture I also had the opportunity to speak about all these subjects, to speak about all these things which are on stake when it comes to talk about climate crisis, and all those who have to realize this transformation processes. All you have to do, well, I hope for them that they find the perspectives which will help them to come through. And this is what we speak about, and we spoke about it during the last years. We say we need public funding for public performances. So if we want to have a guarantee that there is agriculture, there has to be these underlining of the alternative aspects of the agriculture. And so we have to guarantee the security of foods, and we have to work all together when it comes to do so. It has to be a subject of all people in our society. Everybody has to participate, and it has to become clear that really we want to reach everybody in our society. So this is what I would tell you. We have to address those who have to realize the changes. The farmers have to participate in the debate. We all have to underline what we have got to change. There is also the industry which takes part in this process, and we really have to find out what is sustainable and what is not sustainable when it comes to speak about agriculture. We as the Heinrich Böll Foundation, we want to support the movement, and we are happy to give at your disposal our house in order to realize this event. So I wish you a very nice evening. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Jan Philipp, and all those who come not here for the first time. Everybody knows everything. Starts with Fräulein, with Gallus, the famous chicken. Yes, thank you. Gallus, the chicken. You have got 10 minutes. It's a pleasure that we can meet again. Oh, I should not speak up too much. Okay, you are about to see a short excerpt from the series Fräulein Brehm's Life of Animals, a very brief look into the world of Gallus, the chicken bred straight out of paradise. Oh, I've got a technical problem. Well, who can help me in order to show you the presentation? Oh, it still doesn't work. I'm losing my time. Well, Gallus, the chicken, a bird which comes directly from paradise of the blue planet. We find ourselves in the year 2023 after Jesus Christ. The whole world. The whole world. Oh, now I can't come to my point. The whole world is occupied by chicken. The whole world? No. A country populated by unrelenting popes. Popes? Oh, what is going on? Unrelenting popes does not cease to resist chicken. Life ain't easy for them, these Roman chicks who lay up the occupational forces around Vatican City. Well, to lay. There should be a song right now. Ave Gallus, Holy Franceschi, what is it you have against chicken? Oh, and yes, Antarctica. We've got another technical subject. No.
Yes, aber der Ton war nicht da.
The sound has been missing. We need the sound of this film. Yes. This was important. I wanted you to listen to the sound. Ave Gallus, or Holy Francesco. What is it you have against chicken? Oh, and yes, Antarctica is the only other chicken-free zone. Alfred says the most legitimate claim for the honor of being the true ancestor of Gallus, Gallus domesticus, is reserved for the famous Bangkawi chicken of Malaysia. Well crowned, Master Gallus. Beautiful and dashing Italians still resemble the Bankiva the most. Verily, I say to you, they are children of light, ready to crow each and every dawn that breaks. The famous Sanchak long crower, by the way, is the crowing champion of the world. Oh. Wow, really? That was a proud 18-second crow. Yes. Crowing is serious business. No way it can be interrupted. Attention, your attention, please, gentlemen. It's a very serious subject. The last item on your daily agenda, late afternoonish amorous occasions. He moves fervently towards the secret chambers of the ladies, gargling discreetly. Well, it is done. The ladies in waiting pass their time with delicious snacks and women's talk till all or almost all had a private audience with the fellow. Should the dame not be content with what she has received, she simply disposes of the sperma after mating. Emancipation a la Galactica. Chicken are passionate one-eye lookers, meaning one eye, the right eye to be precise, looking down to find grain and warm, whereas the other, the left eye, is scanning the sky for advancing hawks of any kind, and chicken can do that simultaneously. There definitely is more to it than meets the eye. Of course, you are not very sure, and so I've got a question to ask to all of us. If you've got some question, you can send me an email. I don't know if it's always the right eye which is looking to the floor and the other to the sky. Well, at the beginning, there was the egg. Well, all right, the chick in the egg. Inside the egg, the eyes of chicks are positioned in different spots. During the last days inside the egg, only one eye receives the light stimuli through the eggshell. The other eye is tucked away under the torso. It's called very elegantly asymmetrical localization. There simply is not enough space inside the egg right before hatching. Asymmetrical localization and the famous sky-to-earth eye lines are the result of the chick's position inside the egg. Well, the eyes of a chicken do not really move. So this is why they practice single picture seeing in real time. But they can do this. They've got these strange motionless eyes. So they've got these. They can do this because they've got this so-called cervical-collar effect. They have their eyes pinned on whatever they're looking at, whilst their neck is compensating all the body movements with the utmost precision. The head is seemingly anchored. That only works because they have an amazing number of cervical vertebrae. In the 1940s, chicken would lay up to 180 eggs a year, a proud achievement. Only 8 years later, we are talking 350 eggs a year and even more. There is a price to be paid that we all the chicken too are paying. Take a look. We have got a film. We went to Cameroon last year to Lopez. He is supported by OTZ, and we had the occasion to make this little film because this is the first spot where there is a chicken breedery for a dual-use chicken in Cameroon.
Wir sind heute Essen in Afrika.
So this is the first time you can see dual-use chickens in Africa. So you can see what is changing. All this is done by hand. You will use chicken if you have got them. You can get more of them. The chicken lay an egg. You can produce meat, and you can have the eggs at the same time. So this is golden. It is exactly what we need. Well, the film stopped, but don't scare. So those who want 500, 200, who need the eggs for their own purpose, they have to wait until there are new eggs on the market in order to be able to buy them, or they can't produce. But with a dual-use chicken, they've got this advantage. You don't have to throw away anything. You can use everything. We have got only hybrid chicken. We have got everywhere in Africa the same problem, in Germany too, in France too, in United States too. So we have to find a solution for this very urgent problem. Well, all this has been made by hand, and we assisted to all these projects, and we are going to speak about the dual-use chicken. The other hybrid chicken we talked about is called broiler or roast chicken. They are bred to become eating machines. They never stop eating because they are never saturated. They grow in a record period of time. They're being slaughtered as early as 6 weeks after hatching. Growing old is not possible. Their organs couldn't perform, so no point in saving them. They would go hungry every day. Amongst chicken, you are searching for the unknown, that certain thrill, the big adventure. You are the loving type, jealous, envious, display a certain weakness of character. You enjoy the simple things in life, playing games, cuddling up. You are compassionate, can show your grief. You are familiar with boredom and frustration. You can be depressed. You are a chicken. To a happy chicken, a content rooster, and agriculture with a future. Thank you. Well, I respected my time limit.
Well, you were right on time. And now we have Inga Günther, and she will briefly tell us something about what we will soon have as a workshop in the different conference rooms, the dual-use chicken. Unfortunately, the microphone is off. Okay. So this is a topic where most people think that this is no longer an issue because the killing of young chicks was banned, but it was just transferred somewhere else, so to speak. So there are very many companies who are trying to look into it, animal welfare, and on every package that you can find in the supermarket, it says, without killing any chicks. But it does not mean that the rooster has been raised. So, of course, you have to look more into the issue in order to understand that. And I would like to kindly invite you, together with Barbara, to go over to the other room and to, well, look more into the issue in order to be an informed consumer later on when you buy eggs, for example, or meat, in order to decide what's the product that you actually want to buy. And you can get some information, and see you soon. Well, great that you will use chicken in the conference room number 1. Thank you very much. So,
before we continue in the ordinary program, I spotted a guy downstairs right 5 minutes before. It's no fake. I just saw him and I said, "Aren't you Michael Fakhri?" Michael Fakhri is the special rapporteur on the right to food of the United Nations, and it is a great honor to have you here in the audience, and I don't want to miss the chance to give you a few minutes to address this wonderful audience, which is probably not the typical UN assembly you usually are speaking to. Michael, we are so honored to have you with us.
Thanks, Ben. You have to excuse the suit. I was yelling at ministers all morning. Hello? Ah, voilà. Okay. So what the UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Food means is I'm an independent expert. The UN has given me the power and the mandate to be the eyes and ears and good conscience of the UN system. It's a volunteer position, so I'm a free person. And my job is to listen, and to listen to everybody all over the world in communities. So I talk to labor unions, to peasants, to fishers, to women's groups, to indigenous peoples from all the regions of the world, but I also talk to ministers, to diplomats, to heads of state. I sometimes call my mother. And it's my job to listen and to learn and to share my stories that I'm learning and hearing from people. So I'm not very clever, I'm just good at listening. And what I'm learning is when the pandemic started, we all were in shock. Everyone in the whole world went into lockdown. And governments were confused. But who wasn't confused? People. People knew what to do to take care of each other. People knew how to take care of their neighbors, of their community. They knew how to come together in solidarity, and people were faster than governments. And what I've been telling governments is, listen to the people. They have the knowledge. They know what to do. Learn from your own people. Listen. What's also been inspiring for me is how movements have, when the pandemic started, I've been pushing for the right to food to be on international political agendas. In the beginning, it was nowhere to be found. Human rights was in a back room in the darkness. But people mobilized, and people had campaigns. There were local campaigns, there were international campaigns. And today I was at the ministerial meeting, and they produced their final communiqué. And I was meeting with people, and time again, people kept saying, but you're so optimistic. And I was confused. I'm from Lebanon. The last thing I am is optimistic. But I had to ask myself, why am I optimistic today? The communiqué had the right to food everywhere. The fact that I was invited to be at this ministerial meeting was the first time anyone in my position was invited to this type of meeting. It's because people have been fighting for the right to food. It's because German civil society specifically has pushed the German government, and you have succeeded. And because you've pushed your own government, it has had a global effect. So what I'm here to say is that your struggles are succeeding, that these movements are 10, 15, 20 years old. And sometimes you think your struggle is very local. It could be just your neighborhood, it could be just your city. But it is having a global impact. And governments now are finally listening. So I'm just here to say, keep going, keep fighting. This is the time, because you're winning. And governments are finally realizing that you have the knowledge and you have the power. Thank you very much.
Bravo. Great. You do have an impact, Michael, as you could hear. Now, without further ado, we're going to Kentucky. And Tyler is a young farmer from Kentucky, and he also marched to Rome. And he will tell us why and how. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you all so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Tyler Short. I'm from the organization in the United States called Family Farm Defenders, and we are a member of the international peasant movement, La Via Campesina. La Via Campesina, for 30 years, has been fighting for food sovereignty, but today I want to tell a personal story. I don't want to just give a political discourse. I was studying a master's program in my home city of Louisville, Kentucky, and I was very lost. I didn't really know my direction as a young adult, but I had great advisors who suggested that I join a community farm. In order to do my research project on food justice and food sovereignty, I joined this farm. I started gardening for the first time in my life, and I learned the beauty of taking care of plants, of working with my friends, and sharing this food with my family and my community. And then I got a call one day in 2017, And I was asked by the leader of my organization, hey, next week, can you go to Rome to participate in a youth meeting through the Civil Society and Indigenous Peoples Mechanism? I was like, oh, okay, let me ask off work. I got approval to go to Rome, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I went for it, open to learn and willing to share what little bit of knowledge I had about agriculture. This was a youth constituency meeting of the Civil Society and Indigenous Peoples Mechanism. We work in the UN Committee on World Food Security. The policy process of the youth in the CFS really started to go into force in 2019, and I was in Puerto Rico working as an intern on a farm, and I really started to follow the policy process as it activated. And eventually, when Via Campesina had the opportunity to select a youth coordinator for the CSIPM youth space, I was representing the youth voice already, and I took on the official coordinator role. So what this means as a youth coordinator is we have many participants from around the world. And really, to coordinate doesn't mean you provide political direction, but it's really like you facilitate discussion among the working group. You provide some guidance on the political priorities of our social movement, but really you're supposed to listen, and you're supposed to synthesize information. So as this policy process in the UN Committee on World Food Security focused on youth and agriculture really activated, I became so interested, not only in the internal political dialogues, but really like to advance the political priorities of our social movements. So we started following the process. We received a report from the high-level panel of experts in the CFS. It was a very strong report that indicated the need for a radical transformation of food and agriculture according to the principles of food sovereignty, agroecology, dignified livelihoods. But really, as Michael Fakhri was just noting, the right to food should be at the center of all policies related to food and agriculture. Last year, we had a very challenging moment in the CFS where we had to negotiate the text of this policy document. It was called Policy Recommendations. It's about a 6-page document, and I encourage everyone to look at the CFS website to really look at the content. Really, the final outcome of this text is not satisfactory, so we decided to support the endorsement of the policy document, but with reservations. What I want to really share with the minute I have left is the importance as a young person to engage in political processes. I not only learned diplomatic skills of how to hold my temper and how to look diplomats in the eye and act like I care what they have to say when they really don't care what we have to say. I learned really how to build solidarity among youth around the world. I learned how to articulate political priorities from the social movement and put them into very concrete text proposals. And with this experience in policy negotiations, I had this great opportunity to come here to Germany to participate in the Young Farmers Forum as a representative of La Via Campesina. This week, we negotiated the text of the Young Farmers Forum statement, and it is absolutely incredible what we achieved. We have human rights, the right to food, food sovereignty, peasants' rights, agroecology, genuine agrarian reform, and women's rights. So many political priorities are featured in this statement, and I encourage everybody here to continue this fight. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you very much, Tyler. And from Rome and Kentucky to Graz.
Graz in der Uckermark.
Graz in der Uckermark, hier geht's weiter. Florian Profitlich wird uns vorführen, dass sich Streuobstwiesen auch rechnen können. Und jetzt kämpfen wir aber doch nochmal mit der Technik. Habt ihr es im Griff? Das, was gerade war, die Äppel, Graz, Gutshof Graz. Nein, das ist das, was wir wollten, aber nicht kam. Ja, got it.
Okay. So I am from the Gutshof Graz, from the Uckermark. It's halfway between Berlin and the Baltic Sea. And this picture could be representing, or it shows the ideal, basically. We have this orchard meadow. And this is what many people are dreaming of at the moment and talking about. It's quite beautiful and ecologically very valuable. And the fruit that you can find here shows a lot of aroma, and it is much more interesting than the fruit of some plantations. And on the other hand, of course, we also maintain the habitat there, and this is why it's so important to look into this topic. The harvest is very arduous manual work and not cheap. Everyone thinks that it's for free, basically, but it's not. You have to pay for the manpower if you want to have a sufficient harvest. And the fruit that you harvest, if you want to sell it to a company that can press the fruit into juice, then it becomes even more expensive. So you cannot say, on the one hand, we have this great meadow, this orchid meadow, but not doing anything with it, because only when we make use of it, we'll be able to maintain it in the long run. So not all the locations are great orchid meadows or sacred orchid meadows. There's a lot in the landscape which is not that beautiful. But when there is not too much traffic on the road next to it, then it makes sense to operate this and to work with this orchid meadow. However, you do not get an ecological label, and you do not get any agricultural subsidies, because the strips of land are too narrow, and when nobody takes care of it, it looks like this. So here there are some trees at an age where you cannot harvest any fruit, so there's no motivation to take care of them, basically. But without utilization, no maintenance. And those who want to get the orchid fruit needs to, or scattered fruit, needs to take care of everything. You have to take care of it, maintain it, and up until the finished product. And then you can sell something which distinguishes itself from the products that others sell, and which is much more aromatic. And this is also why you can get a higher price for it. But you should be realistic about it. There shouldn't be too many social projects surrounding it. I mean, you cannot implement an indefinite number of social projects surrounding it, but you can turn this scattered fruit into juice or vinegar or other things and get a relatively sufficient price for it. Thank you. Great, thank you very much. From beverage to the queer feministic agriculture, I'm quite happy. Paolo and Paola Gioia is a regular guest here, and Hannah Schwager. So you could use this microphone and we will be able to talk at the same time. Well, we are living in a patriarchal world in which sexism and queer hostility is leading to many injustices, all in the agricultural sector. However, the agricultural sector needs solidarity and a cooperation. Good food for everyone, yes, but also with the dignity and the safeguarding of rights, the rights of everyone who is working in the agricultural sector or wants to work there. In 2015, we had a discussion about the role and visibility of queer people in the agricultural sector. And we launched it in the European movement, La Via Campesina. And this has not been very easy at all times, because the patriarchal structures are very much rooted in the rural areas. In 2018, the European coordination La Via Campesina set up the first European forum on this subject. Amongst others, we had an exchange on the agricultural movement and that it tends to forget the people that are involved there. But it is very important to keep in mind the human dimension and their feelings and also their sexuality. So, no, it's not only a private demand of individuals. Power and suppression are closely connected to it. The patriarchal structures is deeply rooted, much deeper than most people think. So these are political topics that are part of the fight for gender equity and self-determination in the agricultural sector. In November last year, we have set up the working group on gender equity within our organization. And this work brings together many members of this organization, and also people also want to join forces there, and this facilitates our fight. And here in 2019, ELAN was founded, which is the Emancipatory Agricultural Network, which is an open group or network of trans people, lesbians, inter, non-binary people. And the network is growing constantly because the need to overcome the isolation on the farms is very high. And at ELAN, you realize that you're not alone with the daily discrimination and with your anger and criticism of the sexist status quo in the agricultural sector. During the 2 network meetings per year, we are coming together, we offer workshops, and we draw up plans. Our next network meeting will take place from March the 23rd to the 26th, and the application will soon be possible. You can find the information at our website, ELAN. Of ELAN. In 2021, the European coordinators of Via Campesina published the brochure Embracing Rural Diversity, which encompasses short stories of the lives of homosexual, bisexuals and transgender people in the countryside. It calls for a greater effort for acceptance and new social structures in which we too have room for our emotions and where queer people play a role and queer people can contribute to the nutrition of the people. It's a call for self-determination and emancipation, and it makes clear that our perspective is a very important perspective when it comes to the transformation of our nutritional system. The brochure can be downloaded at the CVC website, www.eurovia.org publications. Inspired by the ELAN work and this brochure in 2021, I launched the magazine Queere Landlust. This is the German title. And the first issue was developed by queer people all over Germany, and there was a lot of feedback and a high demand for it. So the visibility of queer people in the countryside and in the agricultural sector is very necessary. And this is the first step to change the existing structures. For the second issue, we look for queer people, and you can get in touch with me. So sustainable agricultural change will only be possible if we create space for an equal or for equity in terms of learning and for gender equity. And there's a long path ahead of us. We at Via Campesina are looking forward to this, to enhancing our network, because not only we say, but we need good food for everyone.
Vielen Dank, Anna und Paula.
Thank you so much, Anna and Paula. I should also say to you, you can leave the room on this side. At the end of the corridor, there is a comfortable corner, and you have the opportunity to have a closer exchange with our panelists. You can exchange kisses, interviews, and so on. And I'm very happy to welcome Chikito Kiratu from Zimbabwe. She opened the first school for ecology and agriculture. So a very warm welcome to our guest from Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much. Good evening to you all. My name is Chengeto Sandra Mzira. I'm from the Zimbabwe Smallholder Organic Farmers Forum, and I'm also here representing La Via Campesina, which is a peasant movement. So I'm here to share with you my personal experience through the journey of agroecology. So as La Via Campesina, we believe in farmer-to-farmer learnings. We believe in farmer-to-farmer knowledge exchange. So we usually do this through communities meeting up, setting small meeting groups whereby they can be able to share their experience, they can be able to share their knowledge in whatever issues that will be affecting them in their communities, and as well as finding common solutions and common grounds of standing within communities. This also builds resilient communities and also has worked very well in making sure that our food systems are resilient. So in our community, we realized that indeed, yes, we use the indigenous knowledge systems that we have. We have the knowledge within us that is passed from generations to generations. But we realized that we needed to change the educational system that was within our country and within our communities. In my country, when you go to an agricultural college, you are only taught conventional agriculture. There is no room whatsoever for organic agriculture. So you find that, as we say, that small-scale farmers are the majority in the countryside. Small-scale farmers are the ones that are food producers in the country. They would then lack, if they need any technical support, they would lack that support because our extension officers within the countries are only well-versed in the conventional way of farming and not the agroecological way. So in our association with our sister organization that is called Fambidzanai Permaculture, and also in partnership with Bread for the World, they designed a 3-year diploma course that can be done as a refresher course to the extension officers or to anyone who is willing to learn more on agroecology. So this is part of the site at the schools where we are taught how to make a compost. This is a 3-layer compost that we are taught. The diploma has many programs, like short courses, agroecology, processing. It has organic farming. It has issues to do with budgeting, economic statistics. It has a lot. So this is some of the pictures that we took when we were at the school and we were learning on making composts. And then at the school also we realized that our health and the health of our animals is very important. Here is a picture firstly that shows a lesson that was being conducted on the use of herbs as a medicinal value in our lives. And we also have a seed bank that we have at the school. This is where we are taught of the different varieties of indigenous seeds that we have in our country, their nutritional value, their medicinal value, how to take care of them. And like I said, that the diploma has a lot of other courses within. It's a 3-year project, but at the end, you can graduate and you get a certificate in agroecology. And then you get into the communities now to help the communities into deepening their understanding on agroecology. So I've recently graduated for this diploma, and I'm now willing to and well prepared to be in the communities and face the challenges with the communities and finding common solutions within our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Und von Zimbabwe straight down to Berlin. Auf Einladung des Weltackers hat sich
by invitation from Weltacker, we have a youth council has been created, and this youth council, well, the Senate from Berlin, they suffer some control by this council. Thibaut is going to present to you the two other persons. Thibaut is in this room, and he takes care about all the Zoom subjects. Hello, I'm Thibaut. Lena and Anton, all three of us belong to the Youth Council. Happily, we are not only these three persons right now, we are 8 persons. There are pupils, young people between 15 and 20 years. So we started in 21. We take care about the food system. We organized meetings. We had talks with parliamentary representatives. It was very discouraging because in all these talks, the people, the politicians told us this is not a priority, this is not a main subject, but well, it is a subject which is so important for all of us. We all have to eat. We all need healthy food, and it is not really available, only in a restrictive way. So during our meetings, we had a look on the global food system, a system which would be equal for all of us. So we talked with farmers, and we realized that there were so many aspects which required an urgent solutions. And if you have the energy, well, you can find subjects you can take care about. So there was, in the first place, our frustration, and then we developed a paper of demands. This paper was developed in 3 months, in 3 months' time. These were all our demands. It was a demand to have promotion of health education, food education in our schools. There are so many people of our generation who do not know a lot about food. Well, my school, I always in the canteen had a meal which was horrible. We wanted fair pay. We wanted to reduce mass elevation of animals, and we wanted to get rid of all these large-scale farms. So we wanted to change all this. Okay, so I've got a technical problem. Which is the button I have to press on? Okay, so the paper of demands, we handed it over to the Senate of Berlin in the month of December. It was during a small event, very successful. Then there was a little break because we have been in lack of financing. Well, now we know that there is a future for our project. Weltacker is supporting us. There is a coordinator who organizes for us all these discussions. We were very grateful for this help because it would have been very difficult to do all this on our own. Here, just in front of our conference room, you can find more information from the 13th of February. Our team is going to become bigger, so just if you are interested to join us, to engage in our movement, just apply. You will find more information here in front of the conference room, and we look forward to get your application, your job application. Thank you so much. So this was the Youth Council, and well, we pass over to the Garden of Students. No, it's a garden of diversity. Birgit Wilhelm is in charge of this garden, and Vincent and Jörg also play a decisive role. So, well, you've got 15 minutes. I'm happy to have you here. Thank you so much. So we have been presented already. Birgit, professor for plants from the University in Erfurt. Is there anybody else from Thüringen? Great, there are more people. Jorik, I'm a student of agriculture, architecture, and I'm a student in Erfurt. Vincent is my name, and since 2020, I'm part of this movement. I'm a student of horticulture, and I really love this project. I want to tell you the beginning of our project. As you can see, the garden of the students, the house is
Genau, so hat es angefangen. Ihr seht, wir haben Land tatsächlich an der Fachhochschule. Man kann bei uns Architektur studieren, soziale Land, soziale Arbeit,
architecture, social work, construction engineering. These are all the careers you can have at our university, and there is the green campus, so you have got horticulture, agriculture,
und zwei Kolleginnen und ich, wir haben uns überlegt,
two colleagues
das kann nicht sein, dass dieser Platz nicht genutzt wird.
We said, we decided to make use of all this green space we had, because we've got careers like forestry as well, and if we want to have more sustainable agriculture in Germany, we need more people who know about gardening, who know how what to do with soils, how to cultivate plants, and who take pleasure in harvesting. So please continue the presentation. The last year we had to grow up because more and more students wanted to have a garden. So you see these 300 square meters, you see 84 students, and all together they are working in their gardens during all the summertime. They are allowed to do whatever they want to do, especially they are allowed to do some gardening. Well, you can also give your comments to these pictures. Yes, I started only in the last summer, so I can only speak about the recent developments. It is a project which is very appreciated. More and more students join us, and I really have to say it's the first time that you really have the fruits of your work in your own hands at the end of the semester. And for a student, usually you don't have the possibility to have a garden. And so here you have the possibility to have your own garden. So you can develop a special link, and you more appreciate all the vegetables and all the fruits you eat. In the first place, I was very happy because I'm studying horticulture and I don't have a garden on my own because I'm a poor student. And then, well, they gave me a little space where I can develop my creativity. And as Jurek told already, more and more people joined us during the Corona period. More and more students came to join us. They came came from different disciplines, even though they were studying social matters, but they were very keen on our project. So education is the main pillar to have a transformation process in agriculture. People have to know what they eat. An onion which only costs 3 cents, it's not possible. So you have to think about it, but you only start thinking about it once you touched it with your own hands, once you know how difficult it is to have your vegetables. So yes, education is very important. So we really would wish that all universities would open such gardens for students. So please, if you attend a high school, a university, please try to ask for this project, because the more we are to have such activities, the more our agriculture will become sustainable. So yes, thank you. You all students from all different kinds of subjects. You have to go to the garden. Well, if you're not eating the right thing, it makes you ill. Anne Schiemer from Health for Future takes care about this subject, and I look forward to your presentation. So you have to use the microphone. Okay. I have to push on this button here. Yes, okay, I will do so. Thank you. Yes, you already presented me. I'm Anne. I'm doing my master in public health. I'm active in Health for Future in the group of caring about the subject of food. So we try to underline the need to have a transformation. Health for Future is part of the movement of Health for Future. We are therapists, we are medical staff, we are the different participants in the landscape of public health. We are belonging to all these different groups of students. Me too, I'm a student. And like all the other groups, we want to underline the need to protect biodiversity. So this is what we are doing. So we do what we do in our everyday life. We speak about health because the climate crisis and the crisis of biodiversity has effects on our health. The heating periods kill people, even here in Germany. Air pollution is the reason for more diseases, and if we destruct the vital spaces for animals, the diseases which normally affect animals affect people. COVID is one example, and our food security is also under pressure. This is why we had our demonstration today. So we try to support the climate movement. We speak about the threats for our health system, but we try to have a positive narrative. We want to say that climate protection and nature protection finally is good for all of us. For me, the special motive for all what I'm doing is this conviction I have that all this nutrition with too many food which has been pre-treated is the cause for premature death. And finally, it makes the cost of our health system rise up. So our food system makes us to cross borders. It even accelerates the crisis, the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis. And all this has got effects on the health of people, as I explained to us. But now I will tell you the good news. We can solve all these problems because, well, the health of the planet and the health of the nature, what is good for health and for the planet, it's also good for the health of people because we are part of this system. So to have an unhealthy food, this is bad for nature. To have a healthy food, respecting the planetary health diet, have less transformed food, have seasonal food, and have food which has been locally produced. If you eat in such a manner, this is good for the nature and it is helpful for the world population. You can even feed more people if you eat in a sustainable way. It is good for the human health. In order to foster this system and in order to foster this kind of health protection, well, we developed a paper regarding all these aspects. This positioning paper, we were able to publish it today. It has been published on our website. If you want to join our movement, everybody from the health sector is welcome in our group. So please have a look on our position paper and, well, you can just come to meet me and to speak with me. Thanks a lot.
Well, we all have a little difficulty in painting a picture of the climate crisis, basically. Everyone tries to do it on his or her own terms, but here we have an artist who's trying to do it together with children. And I'm quite happy that Silke Richard will going to show us her artistic work on climate and arts together with children. And there's also the graphic designer sitting in the back, Natascha Köbel. And the children are, as you can well imagine, have to clean up the room. We're not allowed to join us here today. But for more than 2 years, we worked in a children's art workshop in Moabit, which is a district in Berlin, and we worked on climate-friendly food. And we were able to publish a very beautiful brochure with a lot of factual knowledge, but predominantly with the pictures that the children have drawn. And the two participating schools were the Heinrich von Stephan Gemeinschaftsschule and the Miriam Makeba School. And we would have liked to create a... can we see the images next to each other? So 2 images at a time? No? Okay. So now you will see only individual pictures, but okay, that's the way it is. So in a school garden, or we worked on a garden project rather, and the children were able to draw these pictures, and they also discussed about it. And the beautiful thing about it was that in 2021 we started, and at that time we tried to convey knowledge. So we have lots of children's workshops. Sometimes we do it at labs, at museums. But the main focus is to convey knowledge so that the children can draw beautiful pictures based on this knowledge. And this is what I would like to show you. This is the first brochure page, which is called Grey Planet or Grey Earth. And we tried to find out what is actually creating this thick air. And secondly, the children had very good questions. So none of the questions is wrong in any way. So all the questions that you can see here were raised, and I will only show you a certain part of this brochure. And for example, when it comes to meat, and this is, it's a little bit irritating that we only see one image at a time, because there's usually 2 pages on one topic. So this is the issue of meat, as I said. And they asked, what if we only ate half of the meat? Or let's do some beans or sausage mathematics and just calculate if we would only eat 2 schnitzels per month, then we would end up at 400 grams per month. By 12, these are only so and so many kilos, and this means that we only eat so and so many pigs. So we linked the knowledge to what the children wanted to draw and say. We have a large number of drawings, and we decided to create a brochure out of it. And we realized that the statements that the children have uttered are quite true and are always connected to what we basically need. We need turnarounds when it comes to the agricultural sector, for example. And I'm now speaking off script, and I'm not really used to it, but I will continue. So we need a turnaround in the agricultural sector, if possible globally, and climate protection through a change in our nutritional strategy. And this is basically what the children expressed at a small scale, so to speak. Here we can see our beans page. So we have long worked on the topic beans, as many other people too. And we connected it to the spreading of beans. On the balcony, you might only have 1 in the first year. In the second year, you have 5. And in the third year, you have more than 1,000 beans. And maize, for example, is also a very interesting topic because it's a feed for animals. And if we want to save feed, then this means that we should only eat 1/3 of the meat that we eat today, and this means that we have a lot of animal fodder free to use it elsewhere. So much of what we have seen at the demonstration today can also be found here in the pictures of the children. And another major issue is justice. So this is basically the core of the brochure. So if we would reduce our meat consumption by 50% or 2/3 and eat the feed for animals ourselves and avoid any waste, then we would no longer have any problems in terms of food shortage. And in the second year, we also had this justice page. This was great, and we could connect it to all the facts and insights. And this will be the last page. The children have created a little statement on animal welfare, which came up time and again. So they were highly interested in looking into the animal welfare and keeping in mind the welfare of the animals. And we picked this up. And now you can see the last statement of the children. This is not coming from us, but from them. So many greetings from the children. They've created a little video clip, and you can hear it. Please enjoy the video in the original sound.
1 Kilogramm Fleisch ist gleich 12,6 Kilogramm CO2. Mehr Schienen für mehr Züge. Frieden muss krumpelig sein. Esst mehr Bohnen. Kein Essen, kein Frieden. Kommt zur Normalität. Krummes Gemüse oder krummes Obst haben auch Rechte. Kein Frieden, kein Essen.
Great, beautiful. Thank you very much. Great, thank you very much. In the workshop room, there's still a workshop going on CFS and youth. So at the beginning we heard about it, and those who want to look into it in more detail, please go to the workshop room. And most of you, I guess, will know it one way or the other and will also be committed. So pesticides are supposed to be reduced by 50% within Europe, and also the coalition has agreed on that. And in Europe, the exit from pesticides has been stopped, and the year 2023 will be a year of battles surrounding pesticides and also GM crops in Europe. And Alisa Hofsky from the enkeltaugliche Landwirtschaft, which is the grandchildren adaptable agriculture, or suitable for grandchildren. Hi, my name is Alisa, and I am representing the Alliance of Enkeltaugliche Landwirtschaft, agriculture suitable for grandchildren. And we want to foster the exit from chemical pesticides, and we're working at 3 different levels. On the one hand, research, politics, and also public relations work, and I would like to explain that in more detail. We'll start with research. In 2021, together with the Environmental Institute in Munich, we have set up a study on the pesticides burden in the air in Germany. More than 160 locations in Germany were part of this study. We investigated the air quality, and the study was quite devastating. So at all the locations, we found not only the residue of not only one pesticide, but usually several pesticides in the air, and the substances we found were not only found near agricultural organizations or the agricultural farms, but also in cities like Berlin, for example. We could show it also in nature conservation areas, and also on the mountain, the Brocken in the Harz region in Germany. And this shows that, in contrast to what the pesticide industry claims, is that the pesticides do not stay on the ground in the field of a farm, but they are circulating around. And this leads to several problems. On the one hand, the effect on pesticides in the air on our health is not yet investigated, and also on the environment. So we do not know what these substances do with our lungs and also the biodiversity. And this also has an impact on organic farming, as pesticides might also reach organic farms and cause high damage to organic farmers. And this so-called long-distance transport of pesticides is not part of the approval process. So this means that there's a huge knowledge gap and also lack of knowledge in terms of the assessment of the situation. And in order to alleviate this, our political work is very important. So we regularly conduct dialogues with politics at the national as well as the EU level in order to tell them about the results of our study, and to foster and facilitate the exit from pesticides. And we also developed several political demands by which we approach the politicians, and you can read about it on our website. And apart from our political work, we also activate and inform the general public. There's a lot of information material where you can get information on pesticides, and also in the back of the room, or outside rather, should you be interested in. So this is how we try to disentangle the myths of the agricultural industry. For example, the claim that pesticides would remain on the field. And we also have some actions where people can join in. For example, last year we collected signatures where private individuals could also sign our petitions. We almost got together and collected 10,000 signatures that we have given the Agricultural Ministry. And in 2023, we will focus on glyphosate, which is high on top of our agenda for that year. As many of you might know, this year at the EU level, the EU will decide on whether glyphosate, despite its high risk for the environment will still be approved. And this is why we, together with all other organizations, prepare a large campaign on this topic. And should you want to remain informed, you can use this QR code and reach our website. You can also subscribe to our newsletter or follow us on our social media channels. Well, so please stay informed. And join in, because only together we'll be able to exit pesticides. Thank you very much. Lotte Bohne is looking for Anja Radetzky because she wants to go home. So there's obviously a child looking for her parents. Anja is Anja Radetzky, somewhere near, so she's not in the room. No panic, Lotte. Mara, would you mind looking for Anja Radetzky together with Lotte? Or maybe Hannes, you could do that? I'm sure she's downstairs, and Hannes will go downstairs with you, and we will find your parents. She's also a dual-use chicken, as we can see. She's got a nice hat which looks like a chicken. So, and now we will look into the question of fresh vegetables and what this has to do with dead seahorses. And Farina Kiefer from the Deutsche Umwelthilfe will tell us more about it. Here you've got your microphone. You can just choose one. And it works great. Hi, my name is Farina Kiefer and I work at the Deutsche Umwelthilfe. And I have a great partner organization, the NGO Ecologistas en Acción from Spain. And I have looked into the real price of dumping vegetables. What's it about? It's about the largest saltwater lagoon in Spain, which is in the southeast, which is called Mar Menor. And here we can see these small and cute seahorses with their prolonged mouth. But this is basically also the turning point in the Strait. In Mar Menor, over the past years, we've seen large-scale fish dying, and I haven't brought all the pictures here, but unfortunately the seahorses do also die. Why is it happening? There's a simple reason. So the agriculture has changed over the past years from the traditional cultivation method, which is the so-called dry field cultivation, to a very hyper-intensive form of cultivation, and especially for the European market, so that we have fresh pepper and salad here in Germany and elsewhere in Europe. I think it's very important to understand what is happening in the ground. And I mean, this is also important for us as we work in the agricultural sector. In order to have a pepper or a similar plant grow, it needs nutrients. And in these hyper-intensive cultivation methods, of course, they use synthetic fertilizers in large amounts. And due to the nitrogen that is part of the fertilizer, which gets into the ground, we see the growing of nitrate, which is then reaching the ground, water, and the lagoon. And we also have an additional problem. In order to cultivate this pepper and salad, we also need intensive watering, or irrigation rather, and through this intensive irrigation, this leads to more water intake into the lagoon, and thus also a larger intake of the nitrogen. And what does happen cauldron in the lagoon, so the water turns green. The people living there also call it green soup. There is no oxygen anymore, so the animals cannot breathe anymore, and they just suffocate. And what's the role of the supermarkets in all this? Well, it's quite simple. 25% of the vegetables that is being grown in the region of Murcia, where the lagoon is, ends up in German supermarkets, but also in other neighboring countries of Spain. But 25%, as I said, end up in German supermarkets. And the large part of the yield, of the profits generated does not end up with the farmers, but the supermarkets. And there's an additional problem. The label of the vegetable only has to indicate the region where it was cultivated. So even if you would decide that you do not want to buy pepper from that region, it's very difficult to assess because usually it only says Spain. It doesn't mention the region where it was grown. So what are we doing in our project now? We want to approach the supermarkets and talk to the supermarkets because we would like to change that. And the top priority is that we want to achieve fair prices for the farmers who are growing these vegetables, because only if you're paid in a fair manner and are not under a constant price pressure can use more organic cultivation methods. And on the other hand, we also want to make supply chains much more transparent so that you can see on the label where your pepper is coming from. And we would also like to go more to the direction of organic farming, or at least we would try to reduce the amount of fertilizer that is being applied. And this is why we also talk to the farmers on the ground. And there's another aspect. We talk about it because maybe you are standing in front of the supermarket shelves and think, oh, pepper, I can't do much wrong there. I thought the same way for a long time, but now you know much more. Now you're informed. So thank you very much.
A lot of people think that vegan agriculture will not work out, and a lot of people don't want it to do without animals, but there are some pioneers who try to do it despite of all the difficulties. Jana Anders and his colleague are right now going to speak about their trials to do so. Hello, I wanted to speak about vegan agriculture. A lot of people say vegan agriculture is not, you can't combine it, so we founded a circle to promote this system of vegan agriculture. We don't want to give you the theory. We want to speak about concrete subjects. We have got Daniel Hausmann, who applies already the principles of this system, and he's going to explain to us why it is possible. You can have a good yielding of the ground, so there is a new perspective for the future. So I give a microphone, I hand it over to Daniel, who is going to explain to you how it works out. Thank you. I have to get back in my presentation. Oh, yes, it is the transparent I wanted to show to you. First of all, hello. I'm happy to be able to be here. I'm happy that you are with us in the room during the demonstration. It was very cold now. There are good temperatures again. I have been presented already, so I am going to speak about vegan agriculture. Well, I can tell you that it is possible. It is our slogan. And the directives give you a frame, and the climate change makes it even necessary, because if you only base on animals, you have to use too much resources, so you have to change. How does it work? I don't have a transparent which is going to explain it to you, so well, I need your heads. You have to understand by your own means. Try to close your eyes. You see a green landscape, there's a tree, there's a cow eating the grass, and then you have got this circle, you have she's going to eat and to throw it out again. Well, you know all this. This circle is not wrong, it is not incorrect, but it's only half of the truth. The cow is not producing nutritive elements. There are nutritive elements which are thrown out of the system, where the grass, by the means of photosynthesis, is able to produce sugars. So the circle movement even works without the cow. I can't get rid of the cow. I have to replace the cow, for example, by using a system of biogas. So I've got fertilizers, but it is without animals and without the suffering of animals. We have got societies, 60 in the world. In Germany, they have even already got their certificate, Bienenbüttel in Lüneburg. Since 40 years, they've got bio-vegan agriculture, and it is really possible to do so. They give the example. And plant age close to Frankfurt Oder, they've got also these agriculture based only on plants. Here you have got some pictures which will explain to it. Close to Leipzig, there are some pictures from my farm. We also have this agriculture based on plants. We have got also arable farming. We've got wheat. We have got 60 different cultures of vegetables. We've got permanent culture. We've got in-between seeds, and we've got fertilizers by plants. The difference is we don't use cattle, we don't use cows, we only have compost which is only made by plants, and this is the basic element we use in order to have fertile grounds. So there is no new fertilizers with phosphor or with kali. So with every carrot I sell, I also sell nutritive elements. So sometimes we have to complete our compost. It is compost only made by plants. So it is possible to deal it this way, and the yields you get, it is very similar to what a farm with animals will have. So we've got our postcards with a QR code where you can get more explanations. So thank you for your attention, and you can come to speak with us during the break. Very good. Thank you so much. Well, so we've got now the first live connection to Canada. We will have Lucy Sherwood from the Canadian Biology Canadian Action Network with us. FFC, I think you know it, is a label for wood and trees which have been modified, genetically modified. If you want to accept them in the future, you need a special label.
Welcome to Berlin. It's your turn.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Genetically engineered trees are a major concern. It is possible they could be introduced. We have a new report that we have published in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, which gives information about the research happening around the world, and it discusses the risks, the environmental and other risks. Of course, many people, communities, and groups around the world have already understood these risks and have protested. This is a picture from 2015 from Brazil, when over 1,000 women of the Landless Workers Movement, MST, in La Via Campesina, protested genetically engineered trees by occupying the site of the pulp company Suzano. Here you can see the women are destroying genetically engineered tree seedlings, and they have spray painted for food sovereignty on the sign. Despite this protest, the government of Brazil has approved genetically engineered eucalyptus trees in Brazil. This is a meeting of the regulators in Brazil, the photograph from 2015, where protesters put this sign that says, "We don't want transgenics. We don't want genetically modified organisms." This protest delayed, but did not stop the approval of genetically engineered eucalyptus from Suzano in Brazil. But Suzano, this pulp company, has not yet planted their genetically engineered trees. Why not? Well, the Forest Stewardship Council, or FSC, is a major obstacle to the future of genetically engineered trees, and it is an immediate obstacle to Suzano's plans to plant genetically engineered trees. The Forest Stewardship Council certifies products using principles of sustainability, and Suzano is a member of FSC. Suzano sells FSC certified products, but the Forest Stewardship Council also has a ban on the commercial cultivation and sale of genetically engineered trees. But that important ban is now under threat from FSC itself. The Forest Stewardship Council has started a complicated process that begins to take away its ban on genetically engineered trees. They have launched what they call a genetic engineering learning process, which would mean FSC actually would directly oversee field tests of genetically engineered trees, which of course is FSC accepting the contamination risk from genetically engineered trees, endorsing field tests, and ultimately moving to accept genetically engineered trees. There is an international campaign to stop GE trees, and this campaign also asks for action if you belong to a forest conservation group, if you are connected with an FSC member group, or any action that you take on genetically engineered trees. All of this is of great support, especially at this moment. If you are on Twitter, you could support us in the next few weeks at Stop GE Trees. You can also take specific action. You can sign a statement at this web address, and you can go here to the Stop GE Trees campaign, the international campaign, at any time now and over the next few years to add your important support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucy. Greetings from Berlin. Wonderful. Hope to see you soon again. Thank you very much. Wir haben aufgrund der des Krieges, des Einmarschs Russland in die Ukraine, wegfallender Weizenmengen, überschaubarer, aber doch erheblicher Weizenmengen, gelernt, dass der größte Teil des Weizens, der hier in Deutschland angebaut wird oder in Europa angebaut wird und der ja als Alternative eigentlich zur Verfügung stünde, angeblich nicht zur Verfügung steht, weil es kein Backweizen ist. Und es gibt Versprechungen, man könne bessere Backweizenqualität beispielsweise mit Gentechnik hinbekommen. Man könnte einfach auch besser backen lernen. Und Anke Kehler von den Freien Bauern macht zusammen mit Freien Bäckern, Entschuldigung, natürlich von den Freien Bäckern, macht zusammen mit Forschenden in Witzenhausen ein Projekt, wie man ganz neue Formen von Weizenvielfalt in den Backprozess bekommt. Ich freue mich sehr, dass Anke hier ist. Hallo. Hallo.
Rede bis, ah ja, jetzt geht's. So, genau, ein bisschen. Okay, also, das ist ja heute wirklich Druckbetankung. Jetzt kommt nochmal ein komplizierter Vortrag. Ich versuche das mal einfach zu machen. Der Titel verspricht nichts Gutes. Heterogene Weizenpopulationen trotzen in ihrer Vielfalt der Einfalt. Aber der Untersatz, der ist schon mal gut. Also, um was geht es? Es sind nicht alle, sage ich mal, Landwirte, die hier sitzen. Weizen ist eine Art und es gibt ganz viele Sorten. Es gibt Dutzende von Weizensorten und jede Sorte ist komplett gleich. Also alle Pflanzen auf einem Acker, die zu einer Sorte gehören, sind genetisch gleich. Das sind heterogene Weizenpopulationen nicht. Ups, no, zu weit. Also das, was ich jetzt vorstelle, ist ein Forschungsprojekt, das macht die Uni Kassel-Witzenhausen mit Praktikern zusammen, also mit Landwirten, Müllern, Müllerinnen und Bäckern. Da sind wir daran beteiligt an dem Projekt. Und ich mache jetzt eine Einführung, weil es gibt gleich noch einen Erklärfilm dazu. Also das, was alle immer denken, ist es nicht. Also wovon ich rede, ist keine Sortenmischung. Sortenmischung wäre, man nimmt
Speaking about a mixture of different types, you put it all on the acre, so you've got more diversity on the acre, but we speak about a new approach, an innovative approach. High performance varieties are mixed up, so you are going to cross them. So the result is what you see here at the bottom. It's kind of a family with different characteristics. So it's a very modern approach, and we think that in more diversity there's more resilience. You can see it here on the picture, the different varieties, they have got different colors, different characteristics. They resist to heat, they resist to insects, to harmful insects. So this is an approach which gives us more security. And we could see, yes, the stability is more important, and the stability regarding when it comes to quality is more present. So you've got more robust varieties, so you use it for peas, you use it for corn crops. And the idea behind all this, well, if you use them the first time, if you've got the seeds, you can create your own variety, so you can get independent from seed companies. You can get independent. You don't have to buy seed anymore from the huge companies. And there are different bakeries participating in Germany, trying to test our varieties. And, well, if you like our project, please ask to your baker, ask to your farmer, because now we have to divulgate our idea. Gene technology is not an alternative. All which exists right now does not really work out. People try to tell us that we need it, but now it's wrong, because the variety is what feeds the world. And now we will pass over to a little film dedicated to the subject.
Die Besonderheit unserer Popkruste liegt eigentlich in der Vielfalt des Populationswalds. Und was mich begeistert, ist, dass die Biodiversität wieder zurück auf den Acker gebracht wird und wir dadurch was Gutes für unsere Umwelt tun können.
Es gibt ja in der Züchtung immer die Diskussion, machen wir eine standortangepasste Züchtung oder machen wir eine Züchtung für eine ganz breite Palette? Wir brauchen die moderne Genetik. Die Frage ist nur, brauchen wir sie in genetischer Einheitlichkeit, in denen 100.000 Pflanzen auf einem Feld alle identisch sind? Oder brauchen wir sie in der Vielfalt, die wir Gott sei Dank haben in der modernen Genetik?
Populationen sind für mich von großer Bedeutung. Dadurch erhoffe ich mir, dass wir anpassungsfähiger sind an den Klimawandel, die vorherrschenden Klimaprobleme. Für mich ist die Ertragsstabilität wichtig, weil natürlich am Ende des Tages werden wir pro Kilo bezahlt.
Es war schon gewöhnungsbedürftig zu sehen, dass die Pflanzen doch sehr unterschiedlich wachsen, aber genau das ist ja auch der Punkt. Es soll ja auch genau das passieren, damit man eine größere Vielfalt hat.
Ich merke, wie die sich ändern, und das ist auch die Idee von den Populationen, dass sie sich anpassen können auf unterschiedliche Standorten, Umweltbedingungen. Und genau das sieht man.
Diese Unabhängigkeit von den großen Saatgutkonzernen und besonders halt Unabhängigkeit von den neuen Züchtungsmethoden, weil das doch nur sehr enge Züchtungsziele sind.
Wir wissen nicht, was kommt. Ein Jahr ist total warm und heiß und trocken und das nächste Jahr ist kalt. Und wir müssen wieder Pflanzen die Chance geben, sich selber anzupassen. Und das können wir nur mit Diversität, das können wir nur mit Vielfalt.
Wenn wir aber ökologisch denken und sagen, wir wollen weniger Pestizide anwenden und wir wollen auch versuchen, möglichst viel Nährstoffe natürlich zu generieren, dann brauchen wir Pflanzen, die mit Heterogenität, das heißt mit Ungleichmäßigkeiten, besser umgehen können.
Popweizen bedeutet Vielfalt auf der Ackerfläche als Antwort auf den Klimawandel. In unserer Bäckerei entsteht so durch den Popweizen mit unserer Handwerkskunst ein besonderes Brot mit inneren Werten.
Super.
Great. So before we come to the next presentation, there's an emergency situation. There are heroes in demand. There are 3 people at the Brandenburg gate faced with 2,000 plates that are not cleaned. So the organizer was quite sure that this is not going to work out, but maybe one or the other could become a plate cleaning hero. We would be forever thankful to you. Of course, you're not going to miss out on anything. We will record the live stream and you can watch it later on. So it would be great if one or the other of you would go back to the Brandenburg Gate and help cleaning the plates. That much about it. And the other thing is, oh, I can see that you're all going to the Brandenburg Gate. So thank you. Thanks to all of you who are leaving now. Okay, and we will continue with a key issue of the agricultural sector. Land has become a speculation object. It is basically not possible to buy land anymore and to basically generate sufficient profits to pay the price for it. This is why there is a very important initiative which will lease land. And we have Ralf Demmerle and someone else. Is it on? Okay, can you hear me? Yes, Ralf Demmerle unfortunately is fallen ill, and my name is Reiko Möllert. I am a farmer in Thuringia between Gotha and Eisenach. I have a small dairy farm myself, and my name is Roland Bischoff, also from Thuringia, from Jena, and I'm a biologist by profession. I grew up on a farm, and I have been working together with the working group for rural agriculture in the middle of Germany, and we have advocated a change in the agricultural system. So those of you who do not know, the ABL, the Working Group for Rural Agriculture, has been fighting for many years for an agricultural turnaround, and together with many other organizations, we try to do that. We have come across the topic access to land from our daily practice through the lack of rainfall or more droughts. We have realized that we need more land. However, the land distribution is quite unfair, and also the access to land, which is in public ownership, is very different. So the churches, also the state owns a lot of money. For example, the church in the middle of Germany has several thousand hectares, and also other churches have a lot of land, and the land is being leased to people who do not have a direct connection to the agricultural sector. And they just want to have it the simple way, basically, and lease the land to those people, and also expand the leasing times. And we thought, well, we do not want to put up with such a situation where basically publicly owned land is not being leased according to the general interest. And so with the evangelical, the Protestant Church of Mitteldeutschland, we have talked with them, and we've set up a catalogue of criterion so that their administrative department can decide, without having a lot of knowledge of the agricultural sector, whether the one who is applying for the land lease is the right applicant. For example, whether they create jobs in the region, etc. So based on this catalogue of requirements or recommendations, they can simply decide to give the lease to someone who is from the business and not to other people from outside of the agricultural sector. And our first slide shows the catalogue of criteria as a toolbox, basically, which should be applied in as many communities as possible. Well, we started it with the church in Thuringia and Saxony-Anhalt, so the Protestant church in Mitteldeutschland, the center of Germany. And basically this was a way to try to find out how can we get access to the land owned by the church, which has, in the past, for many years, been leased to the same people. So we thought about a catalogue of criteria, and we also had some exclusion criteria, because we did not want to have large-scale investors to be preferred. We also wanted to exclude right-wing strategies. And of course, we also looked into criteria that are quite fitting for a good agriculture, which is a fruit rotation, crop rotation, for example. And we also want to make sure that the animals can go out in the field again and So these are measurable criteria, basically, which makes it easier for the person who leases the land to prove that he is in line with his criteria. And it also makes it easier for the administrative department to lease the land to someone. And of course, we also wanted to include social criteria. For example, when there are handicapped people in a agricultural farm, or when the starting up of an agricultural farm is being taken into account. So we approached the churches, we had many debates there, we had to go to Erfurt, where there was a major meeting of the Protestant church, and after many years of debates, we were successful and we were able to agree on the criteria. And suddenly people got access to land who were unable to get access to land beforehand. Oh, I was just given note that our 5 minutes have already passed. I'll be much quicker now. So, of course, this cannot be done alone. We want to motivate you and encourage you to become active in your cities, in your municipalities, and to exert pressure so that the land that is being leased, that is in the ownership of the cities and municipalities, is leased based on these criteria, for example. So we have conducted many different actions on that. We have to try to raise the awareness in public. We also planted trees, for example, in this campaign. And last year, I think it was in November. Oh, I just heard we have to go. So these are the criteria. This is the catalog of criteria. Thank you. And you can download it, or you can also contact us. There are also small flyers where you do not have to read much and which you can just hand out. So please get in contact with us, get active, and do something for the rural agricultural sector and for the small-scale farms. In the cinema, we also have a film, and in the lobby you are also available. Okay, thank you. Gene drives. Gene drives might be the most dangerous application of genetic engineering. As soon as they are out there in the open, nobody knows how to contain them. So far, these gene drives have not been put out into nature, and we will hear a presentation on the fight against it. So
yes,
we have the negotiations going on.
I'm going to be speaking in English. So I'm Barbara Pilz from Save Our Seeds and the Stop Gene Drives campaign. We should have a beautiful picture here at some point. I think it's only one. Okay. So the issue of gene drives is very complex, so I'm just going to mention very briefly what they are. So gene drives use new genetic engineering techniques such as CRISPR-Cas, which you might have heard of, to spread new genes into the genome of wild populations. And this can include traits that can cause extinction or completely replace wild populations with genetically modified organisms. So with that in mind, what is our campaign about? And our campaign has been about preventing the release of gene drives into the environment and also calling for a global moratorium on that. And that means that we have been trying to build a lot of momentum on this issue and attract attention to that, because we haven't had enough attention to this issue. And in this process and in the run-up to the COP of the UN Convention on Biodiversity, which happened in Montreal in December, we've been doing quite a lot. And some of the results that we got is that over 300,000 people have signed our petition to stop the release of gene drives into the environment. And we also had 157 civil society organizations that signed our manifesto. And we did a video project, which you'll be able to watch next door in 5 minutes with over 20 experts from around the world, from South, North America, Europe, and Africa, on the impacts of gene drives. And also, we work together with a network of NGOs trying to influence the decisions in Montreal. There were a lot of late nights and early mornings, and even though the results at the high-level discussions at the CBD were not ideal or were far from ideal, there are quite a few opportunities that arose for us from there. And of course, we need to recognize that at the UN Convention on Biodiversity and at the COP, there was a lot of corporate influence and capture of the process, and that the precautionary principle lost a lot of ground, and that all direct mentions to gene drives in the text of the post-2020 Global Diversity Framework were edited out. This framework, which is kind of the guidebook on how countries part of the convention will deal with their biodiversity issues in the next 10 years. And I have to also say that going to the COP in Montreal was my very first assignment in this role. I started in December, and it was very inspiring to see how powerful and influential we can be as civil society when we work together and when we strategize together. And this is something that at the Stop Gene Drives campaign we want to continue doing this year. So our priority will be to continue being this source of expertise in this issue that doesn't have enough attention, but also trying to strive for more attention and regulation of gene drives in Germany at the EU level, but also at the global level. And if you're interested in this topic and you want to learn more, as I said, a little bit of an advertise now that just across here, we're going to be screening a 15-minute preview of our video project, to which I will leave you with a teaser video now. And I just wanted to say thank you, and come watch the film with us, also have a chat, ask questions, and just talk. It'll be lovely to talk to you. And now if we can please play the video, and that's it for me. So see you.
Okay, eine Menge Weisheit in kurzen Videoclips.
Good. There was much knowledge in small films now in the cinema here just across the corridor, and we will continue with Global Bean. The bean, can it save the world? The bean can't do it on its own. But the more we eat them, the less we eat meat, the better are our opportunities to survive. So Lisa Hoffmann makes a project, Global Bean, and a lot of partners are involved in her projects. Thank you.
Schönen guten Tag, ich bin Lisa Hoffmann, ich bin die Koordinatorin von Global Bean.
Lisa Hoffmann, I'm coordinator of Global Bean. And we are a project which is funded and supported by the Federal Ministry for the Environment and Nature Conservation and Nuclear Safety and Consumer Protection. And the major question that we have raised is, can legumes save the world? So now, there we are. So can legumes save the world? It's not only beans, of course. There are so many different, and there's a broad number of legumes. You can see peas here, and chickpeas, and also soybean, cow bean, and also the alfalfa. This is also part, and also peanut, also part of the legume family. And legumes, for us, are so interesting because all the legumes that are out there can store nitrogen in the ground. This is a picture from my garden, actually, where we grow maize and beans and also pumpkins, which complement each other. And this pea plant is considered, this bean plant is considered fertilizer. So you can do without artificial fertilizer when you have beans in your garden. And a major advantage of the plants from the family of legumes is that it is a great protein source. So this means that you can easily do without meat, or you can avoid eating meat, as has already been mentioned earlier. And there are also, there's a huge variety of legumes, and there are many different traditions that we also try to revitalize in our project. There are different tastes or aromas that you can rediscover. And legumes also facilitate biodiversity. And this is why we have the Global Bean Project. And now I would like to talk about what we do. We are a European project. We approximately have 80 partners on 4 different continents. From Europe, we have 17 different countries that are being represented, and we are a network of experts and enthusiasts. So this means that we have the expertise, we have the experience, we have the knowledge of many different experts. We have actors from civil society who participate, there are companies who participate, actors from science, and we try to convey this expertise to the general public and inspire the people to eat more legumes in their daily diets, and also to cultivate more legumes in their gardens. Here you can see a picture from the botanical garden in Frankfurt and their cultivation area there. And we want to show the visitors a large variety of legumes. We also have regular meetings. Everyone is welcome to join in. Everyone, of course, who has something to do with the topic of legumes. For example, we have the meeting in February last year, which was about the diversity of legumes. We also had a meeting on legumes in community food production, so to speak, in canteens, etc., community catering. And we also have the Seed Festival, which is basically an informal trade fair for seeds with participants from different countries. So it's quite an interesting event, and this year it will take place on April the 30th, and you can apply for it online. We also organize cooking events. Every year we have one large cooking event, but also smaller ones. And you're also welcome to visit our Knowledge Hub in order to learn more about legumes. We also have a show garden module for the gardeners amongst you in the audience, which is about challenges and tips and tricks when it comes to cultivating legumes. And we also have practical cultivation tips for the gardeners amongst you that we've already published and that you can also download on our webpage. And we also have information leaflets. And my last slide represents a little bit what we are trying to do. So, first of all, we want to collect the knowledge and motivate each other and have a very vivid and lively community of experts and enthusiasts. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. And outside at the desk, the Weltacker desk or table, you have the opportunity to sign up for our newsletter so that you can stay informed if you wish. Thank you.
There was usually a Zoom planned for our next participator, but unfortunately it's not possible anymore. But Clara from Fridays for Future is going to speak about Lützerath. It's not finished at all for the moment. She will just tell us which is the actual situation.
Hi, my name is Clara from Fridays for Future, and before I start, I would like to know of you all who were in Lützerath last week, and please raise your hand. That's great. So, there were so many people out there, and I brought along two pictures. This is the first one, and I have the hope that you can already notice how absurd coal is in the year 2023, how immensely huge this coal is. Coal excavator is, and Lützerath might not have to do much with agriculture at the first glance. However, the soil that we have there is quite valuable. So apart from all the other facts, the negative impact on the climate when we continue excavating the ground there. So we were out there at a day which was very rainy and thus very muddy, and the wind almost blew us from the field, but still we were so many people who stood up against these excavators and who have realized what kind of injustice is happening here. So how people are basically ignoring our livelihoods and the necessity for our livelihoods, and how the politicians have ignored their promises and neglected their promises. So it's the least thing that you keep your promises and that we do not continue to debate time and again whether we can still avoid the 1.5% degree Celsius objective. And police violence that people on the ground have experienced is inhumane. Most injuries that were registered from the physicians on the ground were injuries to the head. So the police actually try to beat the heads off the demonstrators. So the Greens think that they have entered a great deal by accelerating the exit from coal, so 2030 instead of 2038, quite cool. But when you take a closer look, then you notice, well, okay, this doesn't reduce the utilization of coal that much. They really try to do what RWE, the large electricity company, wants to do. They want to use up all the coal and ignore the 1.5 degrees Celsius target. So as soon as Lützerath is gone, there will be a lot coal and lignite that will be excavated there. This is something that we cannot accept. People in decision-making positions need to understand that we are in a state where the climate change affects so many people at the global scale that we can hardly imagine in Germany. Just think of the floods in Pakistan. Just think of the droughts that people throughout the world experience. And what should not happen right now is that RWE now is able to realize this ad hoc decision. And as it looks, we have to acknowledge as a climate movement that Lützerath has gone down. And this is quite hurtful because we thought that with a Green government, we are not going to endure such a situation or will not have to endure such a situation. Garzweiler 2 has so much coal that it's 6 times more than we need, 6 times more coal that we should use in order to stick to the 1.5 degrees Celsius objective. But as you can see, we are many. And just because Lützerath has gone down and we failed there, this does not mean that we will stop with our fight. We will continue to fight, we will stand together, and we will monitor the decisions of each government, no matter whether they claim to be green or not, because Lützerath is in all our hearts, and it stands for the symbol that we, as people who care for the climate, will stand up for the climate against the major corporations and for the maintenance of our livelihoods. I hope that we will see each other again in the streets. On February the 10th, we will have a Berlin-wide strike at the time of the elections from Fridays for Future, and shortly afterwards we will have the next large climate strike. And I hope that many of you will join in, and I would be pleased to see you there. Lützi lives and Lützi remains, at least in our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't give up our hope. The village has disappeared, but we still hope that the coal stays in the ground. Now we're passing over to a region where there's a lot of hope. Brazil with a new government, and Sebastião Villanova of Movimento Sem Terra, the movement of the landless people, is going to speak about the dairy production, and he is going to speak about the future developments. He is supported by Wolfgang Hees, ABL. Okay, so now we will see a little movie without sound. Is that correct? Yes.
96, no extremo oeste catarinense, é fundada a Cooperoeste, Cooperativa Regional de Comercialização do Extremo Oeste, concretizando o sonho de várias famílias assentadas e de agricultores familiares da região. Com muita dedicação e planejamento, o sonho começa a ganhar forma às margens da BR-163, em São Miguel do Oeste. No ano de 1998, foi lançada a pedra fundamental.
Boa tarde a todos e a todas. Meu nome é Sebastião Villanova, sou assentado desde 1985, através do Movimento Sem Terra.
Ja, guten Abend, mein Name ist Sebastião Villanova. Ich bin von der Landlosenbewegung und ich bin angesiedelt seit 1995.
My name is Sebastião Villanova and I live in São Miguel do Oeste, in Catalina.
Em 1996, a gente fundou uma cooperativa, a Cooperoeste, nas quais começamos com 60 famílias e hoje nós estamos com 1.500 associados.
Already in 1996, 60 families founded a dairy cooperative, and now we are 1,600 small-scale farmers who are producing for this cooperative.
Nós temos 400 colaboradores, funcionários, temos 8 agropecuárias e também 3 queijarias junto com laticínios de leite UHT.
And together with this group of 1,500 contributors, we have more than 400 people working in the dairy production, where we produce products based on, well, we produce dairy products basically in 8 different facilities.
Oriundo das famílias assentadas e também das pequenas da pequena agricultura familiar.
And today, with these 1,500 families, we can generate or produce 550 million liters per day. And these are small-scale farmers in the region.
Então, bastante complexos no Brasil. Estamos lutando para assentar. Temos 550 famílias assentadas e temos também 100 mil famílias acampadas, que hoje a gente busca um pedaço de terra para essas famílias que ainda não têm.
Within, Brazil has a large movement. We have hundreds of thousands of families who are living on occupied land.
Trabalhado com 70 municípios na região e também, junto ao Movimento Sem Terra a nível nacional, nossa produção vai em 5 estados do Brasil: Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, Paraná, São Paulo e Rio de Janeiro. A Cooper Oeste, essa produção ela é distribuída em 5 estados do Brasil: Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, Paraná, São Paulo e Rio de Janeiro.
The production today is based on 70 locations in 5 different states in Brazil. These are the 5 southern federal states in Brazil. For example, Santa Catarina, Paraná, and others, and Rio de Janeiro.
A gente está aqui com o objetivo de buscar conhecimento, trocar experiências, que nós estamos no nosso Brasil hoje, uma sucessão de pessoas, ou seja, as pessoas de mais de idade estão saindo do campo e a juventude não está querendo assumir.
Well, we have been invited in the course of an exposure program to Germany, and we're trying to find solutions for the problems that we have with our dairy production. And amongst others, we will look at a structural problem that we have with the next generation, which does not want to stay in the rural areas and are attracted to the cities.
Queremos compartilhar, né, a experiência de algum momento que a gente tem no Brasil, ou seja, da experiência que a gente tem no Brasil, trocando a ideia com vocês, e também na tecnologia, que para nós é muito importante nós dar esse passo na tecnologia lá no Brasil, principalmente no campo do leite e também na agricultura familiar.
And in this exchange program, we do not only want to learn here, but we want to contribute what we can provide as knowledge and to look at the advances in technology. It's about the dairy production, energy issues in the field of dairy production, which are quite relevant there, and in general about the further development and the advancement of our agriculture.
Para esse país da Alemanha, né, principalmente, dizer que a gente quer ser companheiros nas lutas e nos desafios que a gente tem pela frente. E queria deixar aqui o convite, se tiver algum produtores de leite, que a gente está aí para trocar experiência, trocar ideia. Eu não consigo falar em alemão nem em inglês, mas estamos aqui com o Wolfgang, que vai nos ajudar. Muito obrigado.
Well, and now he sends greetings from Brazil to Germany, and we hope that we can continue to enhance our partnership and solidarity. And what we would like to do now is that we invite everyone, especially the dairy producers, to come over to have a little discussion and a little chat and a further exchange. Thank you very much.
Bevor wir zum nächsten Redner kommen, nebenan im Workshop-Raum beginnt jetzt der Workshop der Gewerkschaft, der IG Bau, zu gerechten Löhnen in der Landwirtschaft und solidarischer Landwirtschaft. Und dann freut es mich sehr, dass ich Antonio Andrioli ankündigen darf, der sich große Hoffnung machen darf, dass seine Bauernuniversität Fronteira do Sul überleben wird, aber auch noch ein paar andere Anliegen hat. Also bitte, der floor is yours.
Vielen Dank, Benny, nochmal für die Einladung.
Thank you again for the invitation. I'm very happy to speak after my neighbor from Santa Catarina. It's only 100-kilometer distance. And I say thank you to Thomas Hager. He is taking some pictures and he has made an exposition of photos, small farmers in Brasilia and in Germany. University Fronteira do Sul, what is it? It's the first university of small farmers with a guarantee by the state. Via Campesina has created it in 3 federal states, 10,000 students, 5,000 employees, and the first university which has been created in order to give place to the landless. So it is a whole university which cares about the subject of renewable energy, ecological agriculture, education, regional development, animal elevation, respecting their needs. They care about all this subject, holistic approach in agriculture. I never thought that such an opportunity could live. We had fought for so many years, and it was exactly the first president without a diploma who founded this university. The other particular aspect is the following one. The small farmers have been there in the moment of the foundation of the university. I think it does not exist anywhere else in the world, have farmers in the council, having them participating in the decision-making of the different subjects which are taught in our university. So sustainability, all these main points, they have got a general conception. So we have this approach. There is the food, and we have to deal with agriculture science, with medicine, with food science. All this has to have an interdisciplinary approach, and this is the concept. We want to maintain the biological diversity. So it's so diverse. Maybe there is not a second university anywhere else in the world. During the election of the president, of the vice president, during the election, well, everybody who votes comes from the civil society. Have such a kind of concept was something very complicated in the last years. So it was incredible. Benny told it before. We tried to cut it off. Well, they tried to cut it off during the last years, but despite of all these efforts, the university has survived. So it is the first university with a campus on close to an indigene community. Well, there has been Bolsonaro in these past years, all the things you know about, but you have to look what you can still rescue. There are these tensions, there are the contradictions in the minds of the people. In the agriculture industry has financed on the 8th of January protest movement. We have got now this picture. There was this soja culture. So I'm here in the middle of the plantation with modified organism, and there is this construction site for the university, for the agriculture economically. So there is this contradiction, green revolution, despite of all this. This university has been created. It is to fight for a better food, and we want to have more participation of the civil society. They should be integrated when it comes to develop knowledge. It is meaningful for all these young people. They are 30% of our students. We have got a lot of indigenous students among our students, and I would like to say thank you to all our partners, Brot für die Welt and so on. They have been able to support us in such difficult moments. So thank you. I can now be in favor of something, and I don't have to speak against something. So this is why I want to say thank you. Well, Lisa Anschitz is going to speak now. During a long time, I wondered about the question why there aren't any biological laptop bags and so on, but well, Lisa Anschitz is making this effort. Yes, that's correct. Hello. I'm taking care about a very small subject, but it is a subject which needs a lot of people participating in this subject. Sustainable agriculture, you can't do it on your own. We have got a farm which is like an ark, so we protect animals which elsewhere would be extinguished. So we want to maintain the diversity of the varieties, because if we have got the cattle on the grass, well, this is the means to bind the CO2. We have got direct commercialization of our meat, and we can feed them by the basic staple food. So the cattle is there to maintain the variety. There's no tractor which has to come to make the staple food and to bring it to the animals. So they are outside, and the variety is there. And 40 years ago, the butchers slaughtered them in order to have the fur of the animals. Now we can't sell it anymore because everything comes from China, and now it's all about a product. We want to sell a product, and I started to develop my initiative in 2014. I said we can't make a collection of trousers. We've got only these 10 animals, so it's not enough. And this is finally, I decided to produce handbags. So we've got the pasture, we have got an orchard, we have got the biotopes, and we see the cows are very important for our landscape. The cattle outside are very important, and we want to maintain the diversity, and we want to make good use of them. We want to eat less meat, with half of the meat. We don't want to have meat which comes from mass holding. We want to eat meat from animals which have lived in a natural manner. So in order to permit the farmer to live, because if he has got an animal husbandry and the livestock farming, which respects the needs of nature, he will have less production. So we want to maintain all these values and even the handicraft. There are a lot of lost professions, and there are a lot of things which have disappeared. There are professions which have disappeared, and we want to promote all this by the means of our project, the project of production of handbags. Thanks a lot. Oh, I'm surprised because you have been very quick. There's 1 minute less than expected. We go now via Zoom to Mexico. Have we been able to create the Zoom connection? And we are going to speak about vanilla. Vanilla from the rainforest. And we say hello to Jose Padilla Vega, Ana Lilia Castellanos.
Can you hear us? Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, can I hear you?
Welcome to Berlin.
We stay here, and thank you for the invitation.
Yes, we see the picture and we see you. Wonderful.
Super.
Go ahead. Cool.
Super. I am Jose Padilla. Un poquito más, and she is Ana Lilia. She don't speak English, but are happy to stay here.
Okay.
Okay. Where we are? We stay in the south of Mexico and in a specific state of Tabasco. Tabasco is a very, very, very humid place and warm place, and the vanilla grow very well. Actually, the vanilla is not right from Mexico. The domestication of the vanilla, or the history of domestication of vanilla, is here in this country. And we have the history and knowledge and with the people in the area. But everybody knows what is the problem with the tropical areas. In the tropical areas are deforestation. And we asking so much why this is possible. And we asked too if another way is possible to grow in our stuffs. And we start to do it with the vanilla. And we don't do it this. We do it different way. Because like this way, we destroyed everything, even the culture. And you can see the imagine from the indigenous in the area. The vanilla is the heart, is the reason to wake up in the morning and walking in the jungles. But when the people destroyed everything, those knowledge lost. And probably, you know, the vanilla is the second species more expensive in the world. What is the reason? This is the reason. We don't understand the handling of the process of the jungles. And this bee is the orchid bee, and is the responsible to make the pollination of vanilla. And the other countries doesn't have this bee, and everybody do it with hand, okay? And we don't do it this, we do it the next. So we take the vanilla and we take some friends, we call friends, and put the tent in the jungle, and we start to work. We clean on only a small proportion lines in the rainforest to put some trees to support the vanilla in the middle of the jungle. Like this way, we have some kind of technology and areas, specific areas to grow vanilla and don't destroy everything there. So we have success. We have vanilla and cacao and other stuffs, and the government focus on it. And they come to receive training. Almost 100 technicals for our government come to visit us. And one of them has in charge of another 100 producers. And that was very nice because now a lot of people know this. Like this way, we start to do it some kind of school in the farm, and another students visit us, almost 100 students visit us to know how we can do it, the project of the jungle, and make vanilla possible. And even the country of Costa Rica was invited to share the knowledge to how it's possible growing vanilla in the jungles. And we traveled there and we shared the experience, and it was very nice. And now they has the vanilla in his jungles too. So when we talk about the protection of the vanilla in the area, and the protection vanilla is equal to education and equal to conservation, it really is, because the natural come to visit us, and we have different kind of orchids. And the last year we write 2 papers and describe 3 new species for designs there in the jungle, in the small place. And probably when you ask what is the relationships we have with the community, is one, and it's very important, water. Because in the area that we have born the water, and we are completely sure those kind of water doesn't contain pesticides and another kind. And we support a universal and human right, access to water. So we want to say thank you for all the people that visit us and support us, working and training and asking and everything. These activities was for us very important, and for the government too, and we have a prize for ecology state. And we share the project with everybody, and we are talking now with you, and we are very happy. And please visit us when you want. Okay, this is very nice. So, thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Good luck. And all the best to you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Es que no se ven, ¿no? Sale como... Recently, in the magazine Spiegel in Germany, there was a title saying maybe Marx was right. Today, we've got Simon Marx among us, and he speaks on behalf of a new coalition of young farmers and young protectors of nature, and he cares about gene technology. At the same time, they first met here, they met for the first time, but not for the last time, Rosinia Billiard from Kenya. She, in the organization Pilum, she fights against gene technology. I'm sure you know about it. The new president from Kenya is a freak of gene technology, you can say it this way. So it's a very urgent subject in Kenya, and here it is a very urgent subject due to the European Commission. Have you got a microphone? Well, you can use this microphone.
Ja gut, dann dieses Mikrofon. Schön.
Here on the table. Okay, I use this one. Thank you to give us the opportunity to be here. Thank you to give us the opportunity to present to you what we have developed. So I'm a gardener, we are cooperative. So you see already, you have to get engaged in order to react against everything which is developing around you. We heard here about a lot of good initiatives, good solutions, which try to tackle the problem up from the beginning. So we've got a climate crisis, we have got a crisis of the biodiversity, so we need solutions. We have the following problem. We don't really speak about it right now. I'm sorry to have to speak about problems again. On the European level, the deregulation of the legislation regarding to gene technology is right now not advancing. We all depend on the regulations. The projects made right now and all this preoccupation regarding to deregulation. Now we don't have the choice anymore. We can't make the choice to eat without gene technology and to have agriculture without gene technology. We have to protest, and the situation we will find is the following one. The plants, the animals, for the moment only plants, but in the future the animals too, the breeds of plants, there is no obligation anymore to mark it on them. Well, gene technology has to remain gene technology so that we still have the choice to eat without gene technology. So there should be the obligation all along the production chain that there is a labeling. This is our first demand. A risk evaluation should be done. This is a very important pillar in our society and our continent. We have to apply the principle of precaution. So we have to apply the principle of the responsible. If we admit these procedures, gene technology procedures, and then due to the lack of risk evaluation, there is a problem. We need the possibility to react in order that we can solve a problem we have created. There will be new plants more adapted to the need of water, but this will not make us more resilient against climate catastrophe. So we need a possibility to react against those who have introduced this new technology. We are an alliance of different young organizations. We need an alliance. We have to stick together in order to oblige people to listen to us. The principle of the organization is to give to the organization a voice. So here we need a voice of the young people, and we should have a platform where we can express all together our needs. So I say thank you to you.
Thank you, and greetings Berlin. I'm glad to be here. And my name is Rosina Mbenya. I represent a network of civil society organizations in Kenya. We are reaching close to 1 million small-scale farmers. And Kenya is largely a country dominated by small-scale farmers, forming and contributing largely to the agriculture GDP in the country. And it's a sector that has been having a lot of problems, challenges, and recently with the climate crisis. Now in Kenya, there's a lot of anger and challenges that are related to food production. At the same time, the global challenges of the world on the green and other challenges that have come to Kenya. And these challenges have made our governments to just be there and trying to look at what are the solutions. And for a long time as a country, we have had a ban actually on GMOs since the year 2012, because of course we understand as a country that these things have not yet been very safe. They have not been proven to be safe. They are also dangerous to our ecosystems and our biodiversity. But with the new system of government, just 2 months after the inauguration of our president, the cabinet was able to lift the ban on GMOs in October 2022. And this sent shockwaves to the many citizens of Kenya because, as I said, with 80% being small-scale farmers, they are wondering whether this means that they are being they are now being dependent on seeds that they will not be able to understand, because our small-scale farmers have been able to save their own seeds for a long, long time. They have been able to manage their seeds as farmers, and we have so many varieties of indigenous seeds, of various seeds in the country, and it's not the problem the farmers are facing. Farmers are facing multiple related problems, and seeds is not number one in the challenges. And therefore, as a country, we have had a lot of interventions, trying as a network to reach out even to the topmost of the government, so that we can be able to address this challenge, not for now, but even for future generations, because we want as a country to reserve and promote our culture and heritage. Actually, in our Constitution of Kenya 2010, it gives a right for every single Kenyan to be able to conserve our culture and heritage as a country. And we find the GMOs as a challenge to that right of the future generations to be able to see the diversity of seeds and all that. And actually immediately the ban was lifted by the president. As a network, we held a very big symposium at the National Museums of Kenya to showcase that as a country, we don't need any other kind of seeds, because our farmers are already producing, they're already saving these seeds, and they have them in the farms. And these seeds are actually climate resilient. They have a lot of nutrients. They are the best solution for food security in the country. And we are glad because the movements that have been created in the country and the consultation and the free talking in the country has made us be able to have a consultation this week with the Parliament Committee, and the conclusion is not yet done. It's not over. In Kenya, we say it's not over until it's over, because the court has already issued a stop to the lift of the ban until a ruling is done. And we are very hopeful that because we have showcased the potential of indigenous seeds, it is going to be possible. So we stand with the other youth globally and even with other countries to say no to GMOs, but support to farmer-managed seed systems. Thank you.
As someone who has, since 1986, looked into the issue of genetic engineering, I'm quite happy and glad that there is a new generation which continues to fight against GM crops, and this will be a decisive year in Europe. And I would be quite grateful if you could take this very seriously, because it's a huge challenge. This EU deregulation of genetic engineering, when it is being implemented, then there is no GM-free agriculture in Europe anymore. This is the objective that certain international corporations have been working on for the past 30 years. And for the past 30 years, they have failed, and hopefully they will continue to fail for the next 30 years. But to achieve that, we need to stand up. And as we've been talking about multi-generational questions, I'm quite happy that I can introduce Mr. Kehler, who has started the bread bridges to Ukraine. And not only he, but also Maria, who joins us from Ukraine. And we are quite happy that, even though it's quite a sad topic, but still a nice topic, that we can have you here. I can use this mic. I will be wandering around, I guess. So, perfect. May I introduce Maria Manima, our contact in Ukraine? However, we have to briefly switch to our presentation. Well, this is the Brotbrücke, the bread bridge, and usually a bridge does not have a gap. But there is a gap, and there's a question mark in between. It is not being filled by the things that we see here or the debates in bars. So none of what we can see here can fill this gap. And it's not about the bigger picture. It's about these guys here. When we were contacted last year from Ukraine, I wasn't so sure I would do something in concrete terms with my work and would do something good. So I realized that this needs to happen, because this bridge gap can be filled by cooperation, by communication, by working together and coming together. And this is the bread bridge. This is why we have together launched the bread bridge, and we have 21 deliveries, more than 160,000 kilogram bread that we managed to send to Ukraine, and hopefully, and as we know, we were able to cater for the needs of many people. So the Federal Ministry for Food and Agriculture participated, and this was basically a process of many people. We also had to learn about logistics management and also sustainable development in the area of Hanover, for example. And this was really a process that entailed a lot of work, but eventually we managed to launch the bread bridge as it exists now and hopefully will also exist in the future. So we've been in an exchange with people from Ukraine, such as Maria, who will talk to you shortly, in order to make sure that the things that we send there get to those people who need them. So, and I'm quite grateful to the bakeries who support this bread bridge and who are faced with so many crises at the moment, especially in their trade, who have shown the stamina and the will to support the people in Ukraine, and they will continue to do so in the year 2023 because the war is not over yet. It will hopefully eventually be, but as long as it takes, we are going to support them. So these are some of the bakeries. It's a large number of people who would not fit in just one slide, but I'm very grateful to them. And this is the bread bridge, and Maria will now talk to you from Ukraine.
Thank you so much for the time. My name is Maria. I'm Ukrainian, and I'm the part of Lebensmittelministerium German Food Bridge project. I would like to express my high gratitude to all the people who are involved in this initiative. It's very important because without the support of all people, we couldn't stand even just a few days. So right now we are fighting for our freedom and democracy. Thanks a lot once again for that. And as you know, we have two front lines right now. The most important one, of course, is the line of fire with our Ukrainian army, where the people are dying every day, unfortunately. But the second front line is humanitarian war as well, because people are right now without food, without water, without electricity. And thanks a lot to Broadbrücke, because it's extremely important initiative. They became one of the first of our partners. And we've been together already almost, it's 11th month already. So thanks a lot to Anke and Lucas and to all the bakeries who are involved in that project, because I'm personally controlling all the deliveries, and you can know the cities from the news: Irpin, Bucha, Chernihiv, Kharkiv, Mykolaiv. But unfortunately, we know only bad side from the news. But with the help of Broadbrücke, we are delivering their different supplies, and people in many regions didn't see even the bread because of the Russian occupation. So I'm so grateful for this initiative, and we keep on working. We are continuing to help because unfortunately, no one see the end of the war. So I just hope that we will win soon, and the peace will be in my country. So thanks a lot to all people who are involved, and once again, for Broadbrücke initiative, which is extremely important. And thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maria, for being with us. And I am sure one day you will send the bread back. We know the Ukraine has a bread basket here, and it will be the new bread basket for the European Union if we work together and we stand strong. Thank you very much for being with us, und vielen Dank für eure Initiative.
And thank you very much for your initiative. So you can find it on the internet and support it. It would be great if you could support it. The bakeries cannot do it all without support.
Allerletzten Höhepunkt des
Before we come to the last main item on our agenda, we have to talk about one thing that unfortunately also in the organic agriculture is an issue. The sustainability also has false friends, and these are fascists, right-wing extremists, or fascist and extremist forms of a new agriculture. And there is an alliance against these trends. So green from the outside, brown from the inside, fight against right-wing extremism in ecology and the agriculture. And unfortunately, I'm a little bit unconcentrated right now. So Barbara Graf and Jutta Sundermann will be the next speakers. Well, these were some, sad insights. I mean, we are talking about a topic which is much more relevant for those people who are committed to the agricultural turnaround. And we can find it in many different places, unfortunately. Well, unfortunately, we cannot see it here, but you can imagine that there is a beautiful farm in the countryside. Okay, so let's skip one slide. So what's so problematic about all this? For people from the outside, the political stance of those people who live here is difficult to assess, because they tend to settle down in a little village and to spread from there. However, the problem is that there's a lot of organic farming that they use, and the idea of organic farming that we represent with all our effort is also picked up by other people who have different political viewpoints. So this is an example from Jahme, from Mecklenburg-Western Pomerania. So the Nazis are quite happy that this is a nationally freed zone, as they call it, and they try to build up infrastructure there for the community, and they present a romantic agricultural story. And of course, if you see it together with the pertinent terminology, it's easy to assess. But if you don't see it, you are wondering, is this organic or is this deeply brown in terms of, brown meaning fascist. So this is an image from a TV broadcast. So Nazis do not always have to look like Nazis in the past. So they become members of associations in the village, for example. They try to offer something for the villagers, and as soon as they've built up a social relationship, then they express their ideologies. So we just want to raise the awareness in this regard, so that people are aware of these kind of trends. So some people conducted a lot of research. I mean, we cannot fully show everything. Just give you an example. Anastasia, it is a Russian, very kitschy fantasy novel which led to real movement. And in Brandenburg and Saxony-Anhalt and Saxony and Bavaria, there are settlements that actually refer to this novel, and they have clearly anti-Semitic and racist ideologies that they stand for. I'm sure you all know that environmental protection is the protection of your homeland. So almost all the right-wing parties focus on agriculture, ecology, and environmental protection. And of course, we cannot name every single one of them, but for example, the Identitäre Bewegung, AfD, the NPD, and others, they are quite represented when it comes to this subject. In Lower Saxony, we had a local election, and the AfD posters might have looked like a poster of the We Are Fed Up demonstration if we had covered the AfD logo. So luckily, more and more people are informed and are committing themselves to the fight against these trends, and people are getting aware of these kind of trends. And Barbara, with your network of agriculture based on solidarity, you mentioned that there are right-wing right-wing trends there as well. And basically, we should not only talk about organic cultivation methods, but also the other aspects. Potato, pumpkin, and fatherland. This is the attempt to build a strategy against right-wing extremism, fascism in the agricultural sector and small-scale farming. And the first product coming out of it, and these are basically, these are just some logos, and we can also give you a flyer in a minute. This is a flyer that is an entry point, so to speak. So the exchange that has taken place since the first network meeting has already borne fruit, and we hope that more people will join forces. Of course, first of all, it's very important to look around what is happening out there, and some of the associations have noticed that in their realm there has been a Reichsbürger farm, which is a movement of people who are neglecting the German state and have fascist ideas. Well, so outside you can find more information, leaflets, and we are looking forward to feedback. In terms of the flyer, it's just a draft, and they can also find information on the different associations or online. You can also find all the information. Thank you. Well, I know that you all only stayed in order to listen to the lullaby story from Matthias Stürwold, and I'm quite glad that he's back here again and also live. But before you start with your lullaby story, I would like to thank several people. First of all, I'd like to thank Fiona. Fiona managed to stay here for 3 hours to show the red card to everyone after 5 minutes. We would not have managed to be more or less on time without your effort. Thank you, Fiona. I'd also like to thank Thibaut, who has welcomed people online. So we have seen him earlier as the representative of the Youth Council. And I'd also like to thank Stefan and Philippe from the technical support, who've done a great job. So thank you very much. And I would also like to thank 2 hard workers who are sitting in the back. I don't even know their names. They are basically invisible and have translated and interpreted all the time. Thank you very much for that. And I'd also like to thank the one and only Mara Wüst, who has organized everything. So please come to the podium, and so that people can see you. So it was great. You've done a great job. So I was just talking here, but she made sure that everything ran smoothly. So thanks to you, Mara. It was great working with you. And now we will listen to Matthias, and we will hear our lullaby story, our good night story. Hello. I'm quite happy to be here finally again in Berlin. I've not come on my tractor. over the past years, I've come here by tractor and I've stayed the whole weekend, but I had an event last night in Schleswig-Holstein. I came up here by train. It was great to sit on a train with 6 other farmers. We had great fun, and I think also all the other people on the cabin enjoyed our conversations there. So it was a great demonstration. It was great to see so many people again. I mean, some people you only meet in Berlin, even though you know that they've got a farm, but you tend to meet them or see them in Berlin only. Those of you who do not know me, my name is Matthias Stürwold. I'm a dairy farmer, and I've done that for the past 20 years in Schleswig-Holstein, one of the Hamfelder Hof dairy farmers. I'm also an author. I've got a monthly column in the Bauernstimme, which is a publication, and it's almost already a tradition that I'm the last one who is giving a talk here. I've also published several books, and I try to also show the funny sides of the life in the countryside. And I would like to start with 2 short poems, which are called romantic. So, in the past, my daughter talked to me about a young farmer who went to the room of his beloved in order to use a herbicide in order to show a heart in the meadow. Good old youth. This is quite a sick idea. It's quite funny already. So this was, I mean, I think I will keep this herbicide. You never know what you might need it for in the future. Thank you very much. And now we will continue with peasant youth romantic once again. Usually, I liked the ones who admired my daughter. I always kept my mouth shut and never said anything. I didn't say, well, young man, we've got to chat. What are you doing profession-wise? Can you earn a living from that? But when someone tries to show his love using Roundup and creating a brown heart into our green meadow in front of the house, then I have to say I have a heart for all the freaks, but he would have had a difficult time with me. Well, thank you very much. Well, later on, I will give an appearance at the Dairy Farmers Association, which will celebrate its 25th anniversary. And I'm also asked quite frequently whether I'm still a dairy farmer because I'm on stage quite often, or I'm asked whether I'm a farmer at all. So in Schleswig-Holstein and the Klön region, there's the theater Zeitgeist, and they have like comedy days, and they had 3 professional comedians, and then they thought it might be quite nice if they would invite me as a local representative just in between the professional comedians. And I appeared. I told a few stories there, and then I was backstage with the professional comedians, and one came up to me and said, well, this farmer's role, how did you research for that? And I said, well, I lived amongst farmers for many, many years, unnoticed. Well, but also as an author or entertainer, I'm quite happy about being a dairy farmer every day. So I never have the impression to be in the right place than on my dairy farm. And there are 2 things that I do in my farm where I come up with new stories. For example, when I get the cows, or when I milk them. And I have to do that a lot. I have to take in the cows or take them out. I also have staff in my farm, but they don't like that because we're doing it on foot. We do not have a quad. I mean, if we had a quad, the staff would like to take out and take in the cows, but we don't. So Star, for example, realizes that when he forgets to take along some beverage when he went out with a tractor, then he comes back with a tractor, not on foot, in order to get his beverage and go back out. And especially in the morning, it takes a lot of time to take out the cows. So in the morning, the cows are lying around. They are grazing up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, but then they lie down. They are scattered in small groups. Sometimes they even fall asleep. For example, 3 cows a year ago, 1 year old, they were sleeping. They had fallen asleep, and I could wake them up by stepping in between them and stroking them, and they were suddenly surprised, and then they realized, oh, it's only the farmer with hands that are bigger than the feet of his wife. And when I then make the cows go back to the stable, and you might know that they stand up, they stretch, they shit, and then they realize that they are extremely hungry and that this nice grass is so delicious, and they start to eat. And if I'm trying to get one cow back to the stable, then the other stops in order to eat. And this happens not only with 1 or 2 cows, but with 50. So it sometimes takes several hours up until I get the cows back into the stable. But none of the time is wasted. And what I realized is that the cows are faster thinkers than I am, and realized while I was pushing 1 cow to the stable, and a moment before I wanted to push another cow to the table, she started to eat. And I realized that the cow had realized that I wanted to do something else, and so she noticed that I was distracted, and she did something else. So sometimes I'm wondering who is keeping whom. Sometimes in the morning when I'm there, and I'm so happy that I've a profession where I just have to get up in the morning, where I have to put on a jumper, the rubber boots, and the trousers, and I'm at my workplace. I feel so free in my head, and I immediately come up with stories, and also milking. I like to milk the cows. If you ask dairy farmers who's going to milk the cows, then they say, well, my wife is doing it, or the grandfather or grandmother, or it's the robot, no matter who, but as long as it's not them. So with many dairy farmers, my impression is that they do not like milking it because of this high working speed. So many farmers have the idea that they have to work. You have to milk 300 cows in a row. So, but if cows could talk to the farmers, they would say, chill for once, farmer. And, for example, when I have to milk the cows, but I'm running out of time because I have an appearance on stage later on, and this might be a genetic disorder maybe with me, so I think, well, I want to do it quickly. Now I want to quickly milk the cows, but it doesn't work. So milking quickly does not work. So of the first 10 cows, there's at least one that realizes that I'm running out of time, and I can see her think, well, the farmer is a little bit strange today. Well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I have to do something. Now I know. I have to shit in the milk stand. And then I am mad with her because I have to clean the milk stall. I have to take away the cow poo. And this is why I shout at the poo and telling her, why are you shitting in the milk stall? And all the others are suddenly surprised, and they also start to shit in the milk stall. And the next cows that come in think, oh, this is obviously the glue for the cows, and they also start to shit there. So this is why when I'm in a hurry, I stand outside, deep breathly, say 3 times, and when I notice that I'm ready to milk the cows. Then I open the milk stall. The first 10 cows come in. We are all relaxed. I see this white milk being collected, and I hear the milking machine. Then it's quite inspiring. And I come up with another story. And so I came up with the next poem that I will tell you. It's called Aufzählung. A friend who can help me. A morning which is fresh, that it really is inspiring. A rain that is cooling the air, which was so hot that you were sweating while you were doing nothing. A customer which has time for a little chat. A fee trader who is fair and not trying to pull your leg, a child that is asking you questions and in order to understand the world and not annoy you, a neighbor I can help with something, and I know that he's going to do the same if I need his help. A dairy farmer like my father, who after his work is taking off his hat, is saying a prayer, and a tenderness throughout the course of the day that we want to jump into the beds alive. One of 6, 7, or 8 billion, but the one that is my own. How rich I am, be others richer than I am, but it's enough for me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I think I have overstepped this 5-minute time limit, but I would like to tell you just a little story. I gave a little tour around my farm. I do it twice a year, and it's quite a joyful thing. And to all of you who have a farm, I would like to encourage you not only to come to Berlin and talk about your projects here, but please do invite people to your farm and show them what you're doing. My experience is that very interesting things happen there, and what once happened is the following text is about. It's called Farm Tour, and apart from that, bye-bye. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. And this is my last story. It's quite a lullaby story. It's just called Farmyard Tour. Saturday afternoon in June, the BUND local group and I agreed on a tour on my farm. Only a few days ago, it was unclear whether it could take place, but then the lockdown ended and events out in the open were possible again. So the newspaper also announced that the weather was great. People were euphoric, enthusiastic. So they said, no matter what, we will go there. More than 50 people came, and there was nothing for free. So, as usual, I went in front of them to the meadow with the cows. We also call it Little Hill. And when I arrived there, I looked back on the farm. 50 people were standing around me, and we all enjoyed the view. And the cows were curious, and they were coming to us. Such a large group of 2-legged animals was unknown to them. They had not seen it. So out of the circle of people, suddenly turned into a circle of cows. The cows were actually trying to sniff at the 2-legged animals. The people were standing around quite quietly. Most of them hadn't been that close to cows without any fence or anything between them. And the chattering that afternoon was quite nice, but the cows really made it into the hearts of the people. One woman later on said, well, now I've understood, and I thought maybe I should leave the next farmyard tour to the cows. Thank you very much. Good night, and I wish you a good time in Berlin. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't have to add anything. Good night. It was great again. It was a pleasure for me. I hope for you too. I wish you a safe journey home. Please come back to see us next year. Thank you so much.